Echoes of Chicago 1968. We've got some footage here from Wall Street Journal reporter Jack Nicas. We got him doing double duty, reporting, writing, and shooting video here.
A modern journalist.
Yeah, right. Has some footage of mostly peaceful protests that, of course, were marred by some violence yesterday. And Jack, we've got you now. Tell us that these protests started peacefully but turned violent. What really happened?
Yeah, so throughout the day, thousands marched through downtown Chicago, and by the end, it really had to be deemed a success for both protesters and police. Things stayed nonviolent. There was a huge showing from both. But at the end, organizers asked protesters to peacefully exit west, away from the NATO summit. And then dozens of protesters dressed in black, who clearly were committed to challenging the police, began chanting that NATO was to the east and to shut down NATO. They locked arms. They began moving towards riot police blocking the street to the NATO summit. And eventually, at that point, journalists like myself set up and protesters set up, near that clashing point.
Yeah, I think we're looking at, this is footage that you shot. I guess you're holding your iPhone or above your head or something?
Yeah, with my iPhone on a tripod. And so you can see.
Oh, here you go.
Yeah, you can.
It was orchestrated, and the protesters sort of charged forward into the riot police, and the riot police at that point pushed back forcefully, and eventually were swinging their batons pretty seriously. I saw at least a dozen protesters injured, several with bloodied heads. Police said 4 police officers were injured as well. And this went on for more than an hour at least.
Jack, did you come out unscathed? You mentioned in your story there was little distinction made between protesters and journalists.
As unfortunately.
Yeah, no, and quarters were very tight. And, I'm holding up my press pass, but the thing is, a lot of protesters have video cameras as well. So police were pushing back. And at one point I found myself sort of face to face, and they weren't taking the baton, but pushing.
Hey, Jack, did you?
I had no room to go anywhere, and there was a barricade, and everybody was just sort of smushed together. Eventually, protesters took down the barricade, and I was able to escape. But it was pretty intense moments.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, Jack. Jack, from a broader point of view, as you say, for most part, protesters got their say. The police kept things orderly. The meeting went on. Is this a tremendous cost for the city of Chicago?
Yes, I think so. I mean. Chicago rolled out, hundreds of protesters. There were state police here. They deputized officers from out of the state. There's also, plenty of businesses downtown that are shutting down. But they're also, in some ways, Mayor Rahm Emanuel has pointed to a boon for the city, either both long-term as showcasing the city for business, for NATO leaders, and also for the hotels and restaurants downtown. But one also has to question whether or not NATO leaders are getting the best picture of the city with some of this violence that broke out yesterday.
Jack, tell us what your plans are for today. What's going on?
So Occupy protesters here in Chicago have been planning to, quote-unquote, shut down the Boeing company headquarters. That's right downtown, and they're unclear. They haven't released exactly what they want to do, but Boeing has asked their 500 employees at the corporate headquarters to stay home, work from home today. And they've also erected a fence outside their headquarters several days after Occupy protesters announced these plans. Now, Boeing says the fence is for construction, but it seems pretty protest-proof as well.
Great. Jack, thanks so much for joining us, and stay safe today.